Dear friends, welcome back. This is the Crimson Academy course on the Kitab-i-Iqan. We are covering paragraphs 21 through 26 in this section. Baha'u'llah describes how the prophecy made by Jesus Christ in the Bible about the one to come after him was misinterpreted by the Christian religious leaders, who thus deprived themselves of recognizing Muhammad, the prophet founder of Islam. In this section, you need to look for and understand the following key points. In Islamic writings, Baghdad is referred to as the abode of peace. In the sacred scriptures, the revelation and teachings of a manifestation of God are referred to as the heavenly food and bread. Baha'u'llah uses the poetical imagery of mystical language to describe himself and the other manifestations of God as the nightingale of paradise. The Christian religious leaders and their followers did not understand the signs given by Christ about his return and failed to recognize Muhammad. The Sadrat al-Muntaha literally means the furthermost lot tree. In paragraph 22, Baha'u'llah refers to Baghdad as the abode of peace. Baghdad was the first city in which Baha'u'llah resided after his exile from Iran. The Kitab-i-Iqan was also revealed in Baghdad. Baghdad has also been called the abode of peace in Islamic writings. The beloved guardian Shoghi Effendi, referring to Baghdad, points out that it has been described in Islamic traditions as Zahrul Kufa, designated for centuries as the abode of peace and immortalized by Baha'u'llah as the city of God. There are two prophecies in the Quran referring to the abode of peace. First, for them is an abode of peace with their Lord, and he shall be their protector because of their works. That is in the Quran, Surah 6, verse 127. And second, and God calleth to the abode of peace, and he guideth whom he will into the right way. That's in the Quran, chapter 10, verse 25. These two verses clearly indicate that Baghdad becomes the seat of the manifestation of God, and that the call of God guiding the people of the world will be raised there. Baha'u'llah has also referred to these two verses in paragraph 188 of the Kitab-i-Iqan. Islamic interpreters were not in a position to understand the meaning of these verses before 1863, when Baha'u'llah declared his station in Baghdad as the universal manifestation of God. After quoting a verse from the Quran in paragraph 22, Baha'u'llah calls his words and revelation the food that conferreth everlasting life upon the pure in heart and illumined in spirit. The metaphor of heavenly food has been extensively used in the Gospel in reference to Christ. Abdul-Baha explains that verily the teachings which flowed from the lips of His Highness Christ were spiritual, celestial, heavenly, and the cause of the eternal life. Therefore it is explained as heavenly food and the divine table. That's from Tablets of Abdul-Baha Abbas, Volume 3, page 454. He furthermore points out that the Spirit of Christ was a celestial bounty, which descended from heaven, and that whosoever receives the outpourings of this Spirit, that is, embraces its heavenly teachings, will attain everlasting life. That heavenly sustenance consists in the divine bounties, spiritual splendors, heavenly teachings, and all-embracing truths of Christ. Eating that heavenly food is to draw nigh unto him. And that's in Some Answer Questions, page 110. Abdul-Baha also emphasizes that the food taken by Christ and his disciples at the Lord's Supper was heavenly food. That heavenly food consisted of the love of God, the knowledge of God, the mysteries of God, and the bestowal of God. In another tablet, he calls on the friends to make an effort in every meeting that the Lord's Supper may become realized, and that the heavenly food descend. This heavenly food is knowledge, understanding, faith, assurance, love, affinity, kindness, purity of purpose, attraction of hearts, and the union of souls. And that is from Abdul-Baha, Baha'i World Faith, pages 407 to 408. The divine food revealed by Baha'u'llah is descending from heaven, but only those taste thereof who are directed to the light of guidance, and only those can enjoy it who are endowed with a sound taste. And that's from Abdul-Baha, Tablets of Abdul-Baha, Volume 1, page 130. Baha'u'llah also refers to his revelation as bread that has come down from heaven. He then points out that this bread shall never be withheld from them that deserve it, nor can it ever be exhausted. It groweth everlastingly from the tree of grace. It descendeth at all seasons from the heavens of justice and mercy. That is from Kitab-i-Iqan, page 23. The nightingale is a small migratory bird, the male of which has a melodious song that is especially heard at night. In many of his writings, Baha'u'llah uses the poetical imagery of mystical language to describe himself and the other manifestations of God as a nightingale of paradise. He is comparing the joy and happiness that the song of the nightingale generates in the human heart with the spiritual happiness and upliftment of the hearts of the believers, brought about by the utterances and writings of the manifestations of God. Baha'u'llah has used this imagery in different contexts to convey different thoughts and meanings. At the beginning of the Tablet of Ahmad, while referring to his revelation, Baha'u'llah writes, "Lo, the nightingale of paradise singeth upon the twigs of the tree of eternity with holy and sweet melodies, proclaiming to the sincere ones the glad tidings of the nearness of God, calling the believers in the divine unity to the court of the presence of the generous one, informing the severed ones of the message which hath been revealed by God, the King, the glorious, the peerless, guiding the lovers to the seat of sanctity and to this resplendent beauty." Similarly, in the Epistle to the Son of the Wolf, Baha'u'llah states, "O Shaykh, we have been enabled thee to hear the melodies of the nightingales of paradise, and unveil to thine eyes the signs which God, by his all-compelling behest, hath sent down in the most great prison." This is from Epistle to the Son of Wolf, page 103. In some writings, such as paragraph 23 of the Kitab-i-Iqan, Baha'u'llah uses this imagery to illustrate how special was the time when he was still present in the physical world and uttered his sweet melodies. Similar to a nightingale, he would eventually leave and return to the garden of God. In the Seven Valleys he states, "O brother, not every sea hath pearls, not every branch will flower, nor will the nightingale sing thereon. Then the nightingale of the mystic paradise repair to the garden of God, and the rays of the heavenly morning return to the sun of truth. Make thou an effort, that haply in this dust heap of the mortal world thou mayst catch a fragrance from the everlasting garden, and live forever in the shadow of the peoples of this city." And this, dear friends, is from the Seven Valleys and the Four Valleys, page 38. In another context, Baha'u'llah alludes to the establishment of his order, his divine standards, and his final victory as the time when the nightingale of paradise will warble its melody. In a prophetic statement, he announces that the world is in travail, and its agitation waxeth day by day. Its face is turned towards waywardness and unbelief. Such shall be its plight, that to disclose it now would not be meet and seemly. Its perversity will long continue, and when the appointed hour is come, there shall suddenly appear that which shall cause the limbs of mankind to quake. Then, and only then, will the divine standard be unfurled, and the nightingale of paradise warble its melody. And that's from Gleanings from the Writings of Baha'u'llah, pages 118 to 119. In paragraphs 24 through 26, Baha'u'llah describes the prophecies made by Christ in relationship to the manifestations coming after him. He refers to two verses from the Bible. In the first verse, Matthew chapter 24, verses 29 through 31, given in paragraph 24, Christ describes the signs of the appearance of the promised one as, "It will be a time of oppression. Immediately after the oppression, the sun will be darkened. The moon will not give her light. The stars will fall from the heaven. The pillars of the earth will be shaken. The signs of the Son of Man will appear in heaven. All the tribes of the earth will mourn. All the tribes will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with glory. The Son of Man will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet." In paragraph 25, Baha'u'llah states that such prophecies were given in connection with Muhammad, the prophet founder of Islam. The religious leaders of Christianity and their followers interpreted the signs given by Christ literally. Hence they were unable to recognize Muhammad, and were deprived of the benefits thereof. In paragraph 26, Baha'u'llah refers to a second verse from Christ that has been interpreted as a further barrier to the acceptance of Muhammad by the Christians. In that verse, Jesus says, "Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away." The Christians assumed that the one promised by Jesus would promote the teachings and laws of the gospel. Hence, they renounced Muhammad. In the notes to the Kitáb-i-Iqán, the Sadrat al-Muntaha is defined literally as the furthermost lote tree, translated by the beloved guardian, Shaykh Effendi, as the tree beyond which there is no passing. This is used as a symbol in Islam, for example, in the account of Muhammad's night journey to mark the point in the heavens, beyond which neither men nor angels can pass in their approach to God, and thus to delimit the bounds of divine knowledge as revealed to mankind. Hence, it is often used in the Baha'i writings to designate the manifestation of God himself.